He thought he was just fixing a broken bike for a hungry boy on a cold morning. Nothing more, nothing less. But 15 years later, lying alone and forgotten on a sidewalk, a stranger's voice whispered, "We've got you." What followed next was a revelation that turned back time, proved kindness never dies, and brought him face to face with a miracle born from a simple act. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and tell us where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Now, let's jump into the story. Certain corners of the world go unnoticed by most. The pavement cracks, the storefronts fade, and the silence thickens. Brentwood Street was one of those places, a block where time slowed and stories grew old with the buildings that held them. On one end of that street, tucked beside a faded mural and a leaning stop sign, stood a rust-colored shed barely larger than a parking space. Some called it a shop. Others thought it was abandoned. But inside lived a man named Leon Fletcher. Leon was in his late 60s, his shoulders bent from years of work, his hands stained by grease and time. Every morning, he unlocked the old shed, swept the floor, and lined up his tools, just like he had for the past 20 years. His sign was simple, hand-painted on an old piece of wood: "Bike repairs, pay what you can." Most people didn't look twice. They passed him by without a nod or a glance. That was fine by Leon. He wasn't there for attention. He was there because this place remembered him, even when the world moved on. Leon's life had never been easy. He once worked at a factory before it shut down, once had a wife before illness took her too soon. Now, he had the quiet and the corner and the rhythm of fixing things that others left behind. It gave him a purpose. Not much, but enough. Each day, he sat on an old wooden stool and brought broken bicycles back to life. It didn't matter if a customer could pay. He fixed the bike anyway. Some kids offered $1, others just a thank you. For Leon, that was payment enough. On a gray afternoon in early fall, the sky hung heavy with clouds, the air damp with the promise of rain. Leon was midway through adjusting a loose chain when he heard it, the sharp screech of rubber, followed by the hollow sound of metal against pavement. He stood slowly, wiped his hands on a rag, and looked up the block. A few yards away, a small figure sat in the street beside a crumpled bicycle. A paper bag lay torn open beside him, its contents spilled across the sidewalk. The boy couldn't have been more than 10, skinny, soaked, and still. First instinct wasn't to ask questions. It was to help. He walked slowly toward the boy, boots splashing in the first signs of rain. The boy didn't move until Leon was close. His arms were wrapped around the bag like it held something more than food. Maybe it did. "You all right, son?" Leon asked, his voice calm, worn like gravel. The boy blinked up at him, unsure. His lip was bleeding. One knee was scraped. He looked down at the bike and whispered, "It's broken." Leon looked it over. The chain was off. The front wheel bent. The handlebars tilted. "It's fixable," he said. "Come on, bring it over to the stall." The boy hesitated. Pride fought with need. The rain made the decision for him. He stood slowly, dragging the bike with one hand, still holding the ruined paper bag in the other. Under the awning of the small repair stall, Leon got to work. He didn't ask the boy's name. He didn't ask why he was out in the rain or what was in the bag. He just fixed the bike. Slow, steady, sure. The boy stood beside him in silence, dripping wet and shivering. After a few minutes, Leon reached into a small cooler beside his stool. He pulled out half a sandwich, plain bread, no frills. He held it out without looking up. "Here," he said. The boy took it with both hands. "Thank you," he mumbled. Leon nodded, tightening one last bolt. "She's good to go. Don't ride too fast." The boy stared at the bike, then at Leon. "My mom's waiting," he said. "She works a lot. She's gonna be real worried." Leon didn't say anything. He just nodded again, wiped his hands, and stepped back as the boy mounted the bike. The front wheel wobbled slightly, but held strong. As the boy pedaled away into the misty street, Leon stood under the awning and watched him go. The sandwich in his cooler was gone. His hands were wet, his back ached, but something in his chest felt different. Not lighter, not heavier, just awake. He went back to his stool, picked up the rag, and sat down. Cars passed by. The rain continued. The city didn't notice him. But he remembered the boy, and something told him, maybe, just maybe, the boy would remember him too. On the edge of town, past where the traffic lights stopped working, and the sidewalks faded into gravel, the world got quieter. Old buildings stood like forgotten stories. Windows boarded. Signs missing letters. Most people avoided these parts. There was nothing here now, just empty lots, old ghosts, and cold mornings. Leon Fletcher still walked these streets, even when winter bit through his coat and the wind sliced through every layer. The city had taken nearly everything from him over the years, his job, his health, and his place in the world. But it hadn't taken his purpose. Not yet. His little bike repair stall had vanished months ago. Some new development company bought the block, tore it all down. A smoothie shop and nail salon took its place. Shiny, polished, clean. No room for rusted tools or kind old hands. Leon didn't fight it. He packed what little he had into a canvas bag and moved on. Every morning, he walked 5 blocks to an alley behind the church kitchen. They let him sit there, as long as he didn't get in the way. Some days, he helped clean pots. Other days, he sat in silence and watched the sun crawl slowly across the cracked pavement. But it was the mornings that hurt the most. Mornings meant waking up sore, coughing, stiff from sleeping on old blankets or thin shelter mats. The cold made his bones feel like glass. The hunger came second. The quiet came third. Both were familiar now. On one such morning, Leon sat on a curb outside the shelter, his breath a thin cloud in the icy air. He rubbed his hands together, knuckles swollen and red. The world felt smaller in winter. Fewer people stopped. Fewer even looked. A bus rolled past. Someone on their phone laughed through a cracked window. Leon pulled his coat tighter and lowered his head. He remembered a time when he used to fix 3 bikes before noon. People would stop by his stall just to say hello. Kids would watch him work, asking questions. But now, no one asked. No one watched. Except one person. Every few days, a volunteer from the mobile outreach clinic would stop by. They handed out socks, checked wounds, offered tea. The man was young, early 30s maybe, polite, kind. He always made sure to kneel when speaking to Leon, never standing over him. That mattered. One morning, the young man brought a blanket. Clean, thick, still folded. "You looked cold last time," he said. "Thought you could use this." Leon took it slowly, unsure at first. "Thank you," he muttered. The man smiled and stood up. "You're Leon, right?" Leon nodded. "Used to fix bikes." "I know," the man replied. "Someone told me once." Then he walked off, blending into the soft gray morning, like he belonged there. Leon stared after him, a flicker of memory tugging at the edge of his mind. Something familiar in his voice, or the way he moved, but the cold distracted him, pulled him back into the now. He wrapped the blanket around his shoulders and sat in silence. Days passed. The cold deepened. Nights were longer. Leon's cough grew worse, his legs weaker. Every step felt like climbing stairs, with weights tied to his ankles. But he kept moving. He had no choice. He spent his time watching the world move without him. People came and went. Trucks delivered goods to stores. Kids walked past, with earbuds in and eyes on screens. No one noticed the man with the blanket and the old eyes. Except the young man from the outreach team. He came more often now, sometimes bringing tea, sometimes just checking in. Always with the same calm voice. "How's the cough?" he asked one morning. Leon shrugged. "Still here, like me." The man smiled. "That's good. You're tough." "Or too stubborn," Leon replied, managing the hint of a smile. One evening, the cold was worse than usual. Sharp wind, freezing rain. Leon tried to sleep under the overhang behind the church, but his body wouldn't stop shaking. He curled tighter, pulling the blanket close. Then he heard it, the low hum of an engine, brakes hissing gently, and then boots crunching gravel. A flashlight beam landed softly nearby. "Mr. Leon?" the voice asked. He blinked, dazed. "Yeah? We've got space tonight. Warm bed, clean clothes. Come with us." Leon wanted to say no. Pride tugged at his tongue. But the cold had taken that too. He nodded instead. They helped him into the van. Inside, it was warm, quiet. He exhaled, slow and deep, like letting go of a weight he didn't know he still carried. As the van pulled away, the outreach worker beside him leaned in. "We're taking you to a new center, built just last year." Leon closed his eyes. "Too fancy for someone like me." The man chuckled softly. "Not tonight." They drove through the sleeping city, the lights blurred by frost. Leon felt his eyelids grow heavy, his breath steadier. And for the first time in many winters, the quiet didn't feel so empty. Leon woke slowly. The first thing he noticed was the warmth. Not the kind that came from a fire barrel or layers of worn clothes, but true warmth, steady, clean, and calm. He opened his eyes and stared at a soft white ceiling. Light filtered in through a nearby window, quiet and golden, as if the world outside had finally paused to let him breathe. He blinked, unsure if this was real or a dream. For years, mornings had started with aching bones and cold air scraping his lungs. But now, there was no wind, no noise from traffic, no sharp concrete pressing against his back. Only stillness. His bed was soft, the sheets tucked with care. A faint hum came from the machines nearby. He turned his head slowly. A monitor blinked green, and a small table held a pitcher of water. Across the room, a chair sat empty, and beside it, a wall plaque caught his eye. Engraved in brushed silver were 5 words: "The Ellis Care Foundation, 2nd floor east." Leon frowned. The name felt distant, like something remembered in a half-dream. He tried to sit up, but his body resisted. Every joint ached, every muscle tired. The door opened quietly, and a nurse entered, clipboard in hand, her steps light. "Good morning, Mr. Fletcher," she said with a gentle smile. "You're awake." He nodded, barely. "Where am I?" "Ellis Care Center," she replied. "You came in 2 nights ago. Outreach team brought you in during the cold snap. You were hypothermic and dehydrated." Leon tried to remember the ride, the van, the warmth, the face of the man who helped him. It came back in pieces. "The young guy," he whispered. "He helped me." The nurse nodded. "He did. He also made sure you got a private room, said you were someone important." Leon let out a quiet laugh, raspy and weak. "Wrong guy." The nurse poured water into a cup and held it to his lips. "I don't think so. He knew your name." As she checked his vitals, Leon's eyes drifted again to the plaque. Something about it wouldn't let go. After the nurse left, he lay in silence, listening to the quiet beep of machines and the low hum of life returning to his body. He drifted in and out of sleep. At times he thought he heard footsteps, muffled voices, the rustle of papers. But mostly there was peace. Hours passed. The sun dipped lower. The shadows stretched long across the floor. Then, as the last light softened the room, the door opened again. A man stepped in, early 30s, dressed in a neat shirt and warm vest. His shoes quiet, his posture confident but not proud. He moved slowly, stopping near the chair, then sitting without a word. Leon looked at him closely. Something about the way the man carried himself, the way he waited, felt familiar. "You probably don't remember me," the man said softly. Leon blinked, eyes narrowing. "I remember your voice." The man smiled. "I'm Ben Ellis." The name clicked. Not from memory exactly, but from instinct. "Ellis," Leon repeated, voice low. "The wall." Ben nodded. "It's my family's foundation. I help run the care center now. But that's not why I'm here." He leaned forward slightly, eyes steady. 15 years ago, I was just a kid, soaking wet, freezing, with a busted bike and a bag of torn sandwiches. Leon stared. The cold street, the broken wheel, the boy too proud to ask for help. "You fixed the bike," Ben said, voice filled with memory. "And you gave me half your sandwich. Never asked my name, never asked for anything. Just doing what I could," Leon muttered. Ben nodded. "And it meant more than you'll ever know. We didn't have much. My mom worked 2 jobs. I was trying to help, but that day, I thought I'd failed. Then you showed up. No judgment, just kindness." Leon felt his throat tighten. "After that, I worked hard," Ben continued. "Studied every chance I got. Scholarships, college, and eventually I started this place. I wanted to build something that helped people like you helped me." Leon couldn't speak. His hands trembled slightly on the blanket. "You were the first person who looked at me like I wasn't just a problem," Ben said. "You fixed my bike, yes, but you also gave me hope." He stood, walked to the wall, and pointed to the plaque. "That's why your name is on this floor. It's not just for donors. It's for people who changed lives." Leon shook his head. "I didn't do anything special." "You did more than enough," Ben said. "And I want you to know, this room, this care, it's not charity. It's gratitude." They sat in silence, the weight of years between them. Outside, the wind had quieted. The world felt different, softer. Leon looked out the window. The trees swayed gently, and lights began to glow in the courtyard. "Thank you," he whispered, then smiled. "You're welcome. But really, thank you." As the room dimmed, Leon rested his head back, eyes drifting shut, not from exhaustion, but from peace. For the first time in years, he felt remembered. The next morning arrived gently, with soft golden light spilling through the wide hospital window. Birds moved across the sky, their shadows dancing on the polished floor. Leon Fletcher sat up straighter in bed, his body still sore, but his spirit lighter than it had been in years. The machines beside him beeped steadily, calm and rhythmic, like a quiet reminder that he was still here, still part of the world. His eyes turned again to the plaque on the wall. Ellis Care Foundation. Just below, in smaller script, was his own name, Leon Fletcher. He stared at it for a long moment, trying to make sense of how a simple act on a rainy day had led him here, to this room, to this warmth, to this peace. As the nurse entered and checked his vitals, she smiled. "You've got a visitor again," she said softly. "He's waiting down in the garden. Said when you're ready, he'd like to show you something." Leon nodded. His legs still moved slow, but his will was stronger now. With gentle help, he eased into the wheelchair. The air outside was crisp, not too cold, not too warm. The garden spread out with trimmed hedges, walking paths, and small benches tucked beneath trees. Ben Ellis stood near a small white van parked at the garden's edge. It wasn't flashy. No gold logos, no sirens. Just clean lines and a small symbol of a turning wheel with a dove flying above it. Beneath it were 3 words: Second Cycle Outreach. Ben turned when he saw Leon. He walked over, his smile easy and genuine. "Good to see you up," he said. "Thought today might be a good day for a little ride." Leon chuckled. "You're still full of surprises." "Come on," Ben said. "It's not far." They wheeled across the path, then out onto the sidewalk. The van's back door opened with a smooth hiss, revealing shelves filled with medical kits, blankets, bottled water, and tools. But it wasn't just the contents that caught Leon's eye. It was the sense of purpose. Every item was placed with care, as if waiting for someone in need. Ben helped him inside. The van smelled clean, lemon and cloth. No cold metal or oil, just comfort. "This is part of our night route," Ben explained. "We visit neighborhoods where help doesn't always come. We patch wounds, deliver meals, and sometimes just listen." Leon ran his hand over the worn leather seat beside him. "You built all this?" Ben shook his head. "We built this. Me, a few friends, people who remember what it feels like to need someone." The van rolled through quiet streets. Some blocks looked forgotten. Boarded up windows, bent stop signs, cracked sidewalks. But others were alive. Children playing on front porches, music echoing from old radios. Life didn't stop here. It just moved slower. They turned onto a familiar corner. Leon blinked, surprised. It was Brentwood Street. The bike stall was gone, replaced now by a small wooden bench and a tree planted in fresh soil. A plaque rested beneath it. Ben wheeled Leon over. He read the words slowly. "In honor of those who fix more than what's broken, the hands that heal, period, the hearts that give." Leon didn't speak for a moment. His throat felt tight. "You brought me back here on purpose, didn't you?" Ben nodded. This is where everything started. The air hung quiet. Traffic buzzed in the distance. The tree swayed gently above them, its branches still young but full of promise. "People always think kindness is small," Ben said after a pause. "But kindness moves. It ripples. You helped a boy on a rainy day. You gave when you had little. And now that kindness has grown into something bigger." Leon looked down at his hands, rough and weathered. He had spent years thinking they had done too little. Now he saw how much they had truly held. "You gave me a wheel that worked," Ben said, his voice low. "Now we turn those same wheels for others, night after night." Leon glanced up. "What made you remember me after all these years?" Ben's eyes softened. "I never forgot. When you're seen in your worst moment, and someone gives you dignity instead of pity, it stays with you. It changes you." They sat together, quiet, for a long while. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the street. Finally, Leon spoke. "I don't know how to thank you." Ben smiled. You already did, 15 years ago. The van door closed with a soft click. They rolled back toward the care center, past streets filled with stories. Some still waiting to be told, others just beginning. Inside the building, other volunteers moved quietly, checking supplies and preparing for the evening run. Leon watched them from his chair, eyes steady. "You still fixing bikes?" he asked. Ben laughed. "Only hearts these days." Leon chuckled. "Well, maybe I've got a few bolts left in me. If you ever need an extra set of hands." Ben looked at him. "We always need hands like yours." That night, as the stars came out and the city lights flickered on, Leon rested in his bed, heart full, not because he had been rescued, but because he had been remembered, because a small act had come full circle, because kindness, once given, never truly disappears. It just waits. Then one day, it turns back, like a wheel, carrying hope in its path.